I just made $3,000 by suing a debt collector who wouldn't leave me alone, and that made me realize that it's actually really easy to do this, and you can get rid of your debt and make money on top of it. So today I'm here to teach you how to do just that. And no, I'm not going to sell you a course. This is just free information. If you're interested, you can look at my case right here. There's actually a law. It's a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, also known as the FDCPA. Now, this is a federal law, so this applies to all of the states in the United States of America. So if you've experienced any of the following, which if you're being harassed by a debt collector, you probably definitely have, you're entitled to getting money from them and getting the debt alleviated altogether. First, we're going to cover what debt collectors can't do if you're the person owning the debt. They cannot call you before 8 a.m. and they can't call you after 9 p.m. If for some reason there is an attorney involved in your debt situation, they can't talk to you. They have to talk to your attorney. They're not supposed to show up at your job, call your job, email your job. That's a no. They can't threaten you, and they always threaten you. They threaten you with jail time, that the debt's going to get worse. You're going to owe more money. You're going to have your bank come after you. They're going to call your family, your friends, your employer. Everyone's going to know. Like, they cannot threaten you in any capacity whatsoever. They can't say it's going to affect your credit. They cannot tell you any of that. No threats to you or your well-being whatsoever. They can't use obscene language with you. They can't swear at you. They can't yell at you. They can't hang up on you. They have to speak with you in a respectful manner. They can't coerce you to sell your assets in order to pay off a debt. Like, they can't say, hey, we know you have this nice car. You should really sell the car to pay us and pay off the debt, or else. They can't do that. They can't threaten you with like a public list of people who don't pay their debts. This is something some debt collectors do, and it's absolutely not, they can't say that. Sometimes debt collectors will say that there's some public list that everyone's gonna know that you don't pay your debt. That's not true. They can't repeatedly call you. They can only call you once a day, and there's something called the 7 and 7 rule. So they can't call you more than 7 times in a 7-day week. Oh, it's been like that the whole time? Okay. They have to give you meaningful disclosure if you are the person who owes the debt, meaning they have to identify themselves and who they are. They are first supposed to ask you if there's anyone in earshot of you before they disclose to you that this is in reference to collecting a debt. That being said, if they leave you a voicemail saying, this is a debt collector, or if they say the name of the company and the name of the company is clearly like a debt collection agency, if you look them up, they can't do that. They cannot give you any sort of implication that they are tied or work with the government or the police or the IRS or anything like that. They can't say that. If they have properly confirmed that you are the consumer who owes the debt, and they have to do that by asking you a number of questions, disclosing who they are, they have to tell you the amount of money you owe and what the debt is for. For instance,
you owe $5,000 to XYZ hospital. You didn't pay the medical bills, and now they've gone to collection. We've purchased the debt, and now we are collecting the debt from you.
They have to tell you the amount, the date. They have to give you all the pertinent information up front. If they don't do that, they refuse to do it, or they fail to do it, consider yourself getting scammed, because a lot of scams happen where people will call and say you owe a debt when you really don't owe a debt and they're not even a legitimate debt collection agency. They can't tell you that you're going to get arrested. They can't tell you that they're going to garnish your wages. They can't tell you that they are going to impound your vehicle or put a lien against your home. They can't tell you any of that stuff. If they call you and leave you a voicemail, it has to be a human being talking to you. It cannot be a robocall. So if they call you and you answer and it's like a robotic automated voice saying, hi, this is blah, blah, blah. We're calling, please give us a call back. This is regarding a business matter or an urgent matter. They can't do that. It has to be a person. They can't leave you a voicemail using a robocall. Same thing, an automated, electronic, AI generated voicemail. They can't do that. If they're contacting you by mail or by email, they have to, in writing, say that they are trying to collect a debt and give you all the pertinent information that we talked about before. Again, if they call you by phone, here's what it says. The debt collector must inform you that they are attempting to collect the debt and that any information obtained will be used for that purpose, and failure to disclose in subsequent communications that the communication is from a debt collector except in that paragraph shall not apply to formal pleading made in connection with legal action. They can't tell you things like,
hey, every day you don't pay this, you're gonna owe 20% interest on this.
If you tell them, okay, fine, I'll send you guys a check, they cannot bother you again for 5 business days. They can't charge you for things like collect calls. If they're sending you stuff through the mail, they can't have any sort of indication that it's from a debt collector. So it can't say on there like blah, 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 recovery firm or debt collection agency. it has to be very inconspicuous. They can use their business name if it's not obvious. For instance, it can't be like the Health Recovery Group. Like in my case, that's obvious that it's for a debt collection. But if it's just like XYZ Group, okay, that's really ambiguous. So that would be okay. Now, after you've had the initial communication with the debt collector, if all goes well, they have 5 business days to send you in writing, in the mail, the following. They have to send you something in writing that says the amount of the debt, the name of the creditor with whom the debt is owed. So for instance, it will have to say their company name on behalf of XYZ Hospital. A statement that unless a consumer within 30 days of receipt of the notice disputes the validity of the debt, any portion thereof, the debt will be assumed to be valid. A statement that if the consumer notifies the debt collector in writing that within the 30-day period that the debt or any portion thereof is disputed, the debt collector will obtain verification of the debt or a copy of judgment against the consumer, and a copy of such verification or judgment will be mailed to the consumer by the debt collector. Meaning, if I say,
hey, I don't owe that debt, that's totally invalid.
They have 30 days to send you something in the mail with proof that you owe the debt. So that would have to be something from, let's say it's from a hospital, the hospital bill that is unpaid, things of that nature. If they don't do that, you're good. In this letter that they send you, they have to disclose to you that within a 30-day period, if you so request, that they are going to have to tell you who you owe the debt to originally, even if you're not disputing the debt. It's illegal for them to, the words I use are design, compile, and furnish any form knowing that such form would be used to create a false belief in a consumer that a person other than the creditor of such consumer is participating in the collection or in an attempt to collect a debt. This really falls more into the whole
Your bank is going to come after you.
Forms that look like they're from the IRS, things of that nature. Debt collectors will go above and beyond because they know that 99% of people don't know these laws. Now we're going to talk about an instance where there has been third-party communication, meaning a debt collection company is speaking to a third party regarding someone else's debt, like in my case. And then we're gonna go into how you prove your case, how you go through the whole shebang to get money and get them to leave you alone and get rid of the debt. A debt collector cannot contact a third party more than once. All of the rules that apply to the consumer, so the person who owes the debt, also apply to a third party. A debt collector cannot disclose to a third party that they are trying to collect a debt from someone else. That is absolutely illegal. They will usually say something like,
This is in regard to a business matter.
if you can try to get them to admit that they're calling to collect a debt, that's even better, but a lot of times they won't do that. Now, you are not required or obligated to give the debt collector any information they're asking for. Even if you know the person, live with the person, you don't have to tell them anything. You owe nothing to them. Oftentimes they will contact you because they don't have accurate contact information for the person who owes the debt, or they have tried to contact the person who owes the debt and they have been unsuccessful. These debt collection practices are for most types of debt. However, these do not, unfortunately, apply to student loans. If you're being harassed by a debt collector, whether for your own debt or on behalf of someone else, document everything. So take screenshots every single time they call, keep all the voicemails, keep the text messages, keep the emails, keep every single letter they've ever sent you, keep a phone log of every time they call you with timestamps. If you're gonna correspond with them via mail, like regular mail, make sure you take a photo of the actual document you're sending, and if possible, send it certified mail so that you have tracking. Now, again, whether you're the person who owes the debt or a third party, you can tell them straight up, I'm not paying this debt. Whether you owe it or not, you can say, I have
No intention of paying this. I'm not going to pay it. I can't afford it.
You can tell them to leave you alone. You can say,
Don't call at me again.
they may say, okay, fine, we'll send you a letter. Okay, fine. You have to let them at least send you a letter, but at that point, if they don't follow the guidelines with how often they can send you letters or emails or any of those things that we talked about before, you can go after. The last thing you want to do right off the rip is tell them that you are aware of these laws or that you're going to contact the FTC or any of those things. You want to just let them think that you're stupid and just say,
Never call me again. Never contact me again.
they'll keep contacting you. They'll keep calling you. And honestly, if you can handle the harassment and you can just like let it roll off your back if possible, collect as many of those voicemails or emails or texts or calls as you can, because the more you have, the better. If you live in a one-party consent state, meaning that only one party to a conversation has to consent to the recording. So for instance, if I am on the phone with you and I live in a state like New York, which is a one-party consent state, I, as one party, can consent to recording the conversation. It doesn't matter if you consent or not. It's admissible in court, meaning like I can play the recording in court and you would have no say in it because it's a one-party consent state. But other states are two-party consent states, meaning that both parties have to consent to the recording. You can certainly ask if you can record the call if you're in a two-party consent state. However, more often than not, they'll probably say no. However, there is a way around this. If you are in the room with someone and they record you on the phone without you hearing the other person's voice, like you don't have them on speaker or something, if they're recording just you on the phone, that's fine, because what you can do later is match up the timestamps to when the phone call came in, and you can prove that, like, yes, when I said,
never contact me again under any circumstance, ever again,
and you have proof that you said that, they can match up the timestamps. If it goes to court, which it won't, the law says that you have to send them something in writing, in the mail, stating that you are ceasing contact with them, you never want to hear from them again, and you have no intention of paying the debt. They can't contact you at all under any circumstance, except for the following. They can send you something saying, yes, we got your letter saying you don't want us to contact you anymore. Just basically, we are in receipt of your letter. If there's some weird situation where there's other forms of relief they can try to get from you with the debt, they can send you that information, but 99.9% of the time that's not even applicable. So really all they can say is we're in receipt of your letter and we're gonna leave you alone now. Now, what kind of relief are we looking at? Well, if you've been harassed by a debt collector and they have done any of the following, more often than not, you're entitled to about $1,000, but these cases always settle outside of court. And the reason for that is if these things actually go to court, any debt collector who is found to be in violation of any of these laws is going to get hit with a $500,000 fine by the federal government. So unless you owe more than $500,000, there's no freaking way they're going to pursue this. They're going to try to arbitrate or settle with you outside of court. Now, you can certainly contact the FTC, and I would recommend you do so because it will show that you took administrative remedies to try to fix this, but you can also tell them that you are going to sue them for violation of these laws. If you told them once, leave me alone, and they did not leave you alone, you are good. You can go after them. More often than not, you can actually get more money out of them. Like I said, I got $3,000 and it wasn't even for my debt. They're going to want to do anything to not have it go to court because they don't want that $500,000 fine. They don't want the FTC to come in and do an audit on them. And part of the agreement oftentimes is getting rid of the debt altogether. So having them eat the cost of the debt. I personally handled mine and I'm not sponsored by them. This is just the site I happen to use. I use topclassactions.com. If you go on there and you look up any of these robocall debt collector laws, there's always, or most always, class action lawsuits that are currently open where attorneys will basically do a class action lawsuit against a certain company or debt collector that is harassing people. Honestly, all you do is you find open cases and then you just submit your information, and oftentimes an attorney will call you within a couple of days or send you an email within a couple of days, and you can go from there. Now, in the event that there aren't any open cases against the specific debt collection company, sometimes they'll open a new case. Like in my case, they opened a new one against the debt collection company in question. You can also just personally file a civil case against them in state court for violation of these laws. You can also, if you want to get really bold with it, you can file pro se in federal court for the federal violations. Either way, it's not going to go to trial, and it's usually they're very quick to settle. So you may have to like eat a filing fee initially, but you will get that filing fee back. They will pay you back for any sort of cost that you have put forth to try to get relief from them violating the law. Some unethical advice, you can try to piss them off, because no matter what you say or do, you're just the person they're calling. They have to hold themselves to these standards of how they communicate with you, but like there's no laws or standards about how you communicate, so you could be rude to them. You can say nasty stuff. You can try to antagonize them, like unethical advice, but like if you can get them to yell at you, scream at you, call you names, threaten you in any kind of way, hang up on you, blah, 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 like great. You are able to then sometimes implement like supplemental jurisdiction state laws for like harassment or abuse, whatever. You can get more money out of them is what I'm trying to say. And before anyone jumps in the comments and says, well,
don't do something if you can't pay a debt. Look,
I don't care. Most of the time it's something for like hospital bills or something, but even if it's not, at the end of the day, the debt, like let's say you have a debt with a company and it's not for something like medically necessary or something like that. It's just something you wanted to do. Okay, fine. And you fell on hard times or you didn't pay it. I really don't care. At the end of the day, you can rest assured that the person you owed the debt to, the company you owed the debt to, they've been paid. They've been paid by the debt collector. The debt collector purchases the debt. So they're like, oh, okay, you know, Billy Bob owes $3,000 to XYZ Hospital. Okay, we're gonna come in as the debt collectors. We're gonna give you XYZ Hospital $3,000, and we're gonna then take that debt, and then we're gonna go after Billy Bob, and we're gonna get the $3,000 from him. What's the turnaround time for something like this? Maximum about 6 months. Not bad at all. I feel like from like the initial call I got to the time I got a check, it was 4 months. Again, I used an attorney that I found on Top Class Actions that contacted me, but I didn't have to do anything. Like literally, I sent him my phone records and the voicemails and a recording of me telling me to leave them alone, and that was it. He did everything else. The other reason, like, it might be good if you can try to get an attorney from Top Class Actions or something is you will end up getting more money, because instead of just like the $1,000 or so that they're gonna owe you, the attorney I had charged them like $30,000 in attorney's fees. So they really don't want to deal with attorneys, because they know the longer they like drag it out, the more money they're gonna owe, because again, they're not gonna want to go to court because they don't want to pay that $500,000 fine. Thank you all so much for joining me. Like and subscribe, please.
Do those things right now.
Smash that like button.
Be sure to smash that like button.